Yeah, okay. All right. Do we tweet it out and everything? My bad. Yeah, let me see.
All right, yeah. Welcome to Outdated and Uneducated, Week 3, NFL 2021. Excited. You can find me at NFL Outdated on Twitter and
And you can find me what it says on the screen at Uneducated Takes on Twitter. What is going on? We are finishing up a totally fine football game. Well, I guess it wasn't that great in the end, was it?
one of those like Thursday matchups that you
Oh,
definitely see and you're like,
yeah.
blah.
Same with next week. Same with next week.
It is. I mean, it is what it is. It's football, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So you we love
you watch it.
football. We watch it.
Yeah, and I mean, there's fantasy players involved, where it's gonna be McCaffrey doesn't look good, so that's gonna be an interesting thing. But other than that, if you play DJ Moore, you feel great. Yeah, it was fun to see Davis Mills get out there slinging around a little bit. Really nice drive to end the first half. Like, looks like he could like one day be an NFL journeyman, pretty much, unless he shows us more growth. But like, yeah, it's fun to watch. Still fun to watch.
Well, and I picked the Panthers defense, and obviously they're winning.
That's what you
They've
want.
had a couple of good plays, but they really haven't looked dominant like I thought they
No.
would against a third string quarterback. And then also J.C. Horn got hurt as well. So
That's a big bummer. Yeah, and he was playing pretty good too. Yeah. I mean, yeah, no big plays, I guess, but they didn't like need to, Like they just kind of let the game come to them and win it at their leisure. Like they didn't
right.
need to like come up huge or anything like that, with like interceptions or fumble recoveries and stuff like that. I had them in my DraftKings tonight as well, so that's not going to be as great. And McCaffrey, like everybody else, though. So,
Right. Thankfully, I only have one share of McCaffrey in our league.
hmm.
I actually, you know, had the choice with the number one pick. I remember going down between McCaffrey and Mahomes, and I went with Mahomes. So
Yeah, yeah.
in a lot of
And
that
it's a
was
dynasty league. Yeah, super flex dynasty league for if yeah you had to do that.
and a lot of that was also thinking about the injury bug with him, and so it'll be
Hmm.
interesting. Obviously, talking about this on a Thursday night, kind of going forward for next week, and we can obviously talk about that, going forward. But in my dynasty league, I also have Chuba Hubbard. He
Hmm.
didn't necessarily look all that, hasn't looked all that good in this game. That could be the offense, but he's going to get a shot, I think. So
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, and you have running backs who, if you get a running back with volume midseason, you're doing great, right? That's what anyone, or you can't really do much better than that. Like very rarely is there breakout stars. Every once in a while, I remember, I guess Jefferson was last year, Kamara was a few years before that. But other than that, like you're just looking for volume midseason on the waiver wire for sure. Yeah, I picked him up in a league too with some broken rules, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it, especially because I have Daryl Henderson in that league,
yeah,
and I'm not feeling great about him going forward.
oh,
And
absolutely.
yeah, I guess we might as well use that to launch right in. You want to talk? Do you want to start with the Bucks and the Rams? Let's
Let's
start with the
do
Bucks
it.
and the
Yeah,
Rams.
let's
Yeah,
do
yeah.
it.
Let's start with the Bucks and Rams.
That's
That's what
obviously
everyone wants to talk about. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. You. So who do you think takes this one? It's a 50-50 on my pick'em league. I know 50% of the people. Who do you think takes this one?
Well, yeah. I mean, getting right into it, I'm going to say I think the Rams are going to take this one, and obviously there's a lot that can kind of go into it that we can go into here, but it's going to really come down to the quarterback play. Does Stafford have what it takes, to really exploit that Tampa Bay defense? And they have Tampa Bay has some beatable secondary, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what, especially with the injury that they had, was it Bunting or
Yeah, Bunting went down. Yeah, Murphy
yeah,
Murphy something Bunting Jr.
and
maybe.
so he's going to have to do that because Tom Brady's going to come to play. Um,
Yeah. He's gonna pick him apart a little bit for sure. Yeah, and it's hard to. You're not gonna be able to run against him, right? You're just not gonna be able to. And so you're gonna have to pass some of the time, right? Or maybe not most of the time. You're gonna have to attack them through the air. This offense, like that front, especially with Daryl Henderson looking a little beat up, Sony Michel, like they're just gonna run into a wall. The Vea's gonna eat them, right? Like I don't see Henderson almost doing anything. I don't see Sony Michel doing that much. So it is kind of on Matthew Stafford, and this is where you see if the draft picks paid off. Yes, he can torch bad teams, right? We saw a little the Matthew Stafford that I was warning people about in this Colts game, where he's just like, yeah, he's great and he can drop back and hit a bomb, but sometimes he's just gonna flutter a pass like 12 yards over his, a receiver's
Yeah.
head, and it's gonna get picked off. Like so, if he has some of those mistakes against Tom Brady and this team, who is just slinging it right now, that's gonna be a tough one for them.
Right. That game with the Colts was a little surprising as well. Obviously the offense really, they got their points, but the defense really gave it up to the Colts, and the Colts haven't been known as an offensive juggernaut. So
Yeah, and if not for a few freaky plays, like the Colts gave away maybe 14 points in that game. Just like burned them and threw them on the ground, like 14 points that game, and they still, they still almost won it. Like it's so that's a little concerning, right? Going against like Tom Brady's not going to throw the game away the way that the Colts did, right? It's probably not going to happen. Sure, like it's a team game and anything could go, but you're not going to get away like if Tom Brady's not going to leave 14 points on the field, right? Like so, you really have to capitalize, and they have to be explosive, and they have the ability to. They definitely do, and Sean McVay can scheme it up. I guess one advantage would be they're going to be running laterally a lot, probably against this front, probably against Vea. Um, and I guess that's going to be because they're going to have to get some kind of ground game going. That's going to be what they rely on, I suppose, is just getting them moving side to side a little bit with that outside zone run game. Hopefully, getting that big man moving.
well, with the Rams offense, some of the fantasy players and some of the big offensive weapons. Obviously Cup has really shown that he's got that rapport with Stafford, and with the two touchdowns last week, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Big time. Yeah. It was. He's just a really good receiver. Like he
Well,
had the same rapport with. He's just like quarterbacks throw to good receivers, and he just is one.
so that'll be interesting. I think he has kind of an interesting matchup this week, but I'm really and maybe it's a little bit of me kind of since I have a lot of shares in Robert Woods. I'm thinking that Robert Woods might get some good looks this week and maybe kind of break through with a touchdown. Probably not the two, but they're gonna need that. I think obviously you said with it's going to be tough sledding running the ball,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
they're going to need that.
Yeah. I would expect a lot of three receiver sets, a lot of 11 personnel. That's one running back, one tight end, like three receivers is what I expect a lot of, and just trying to get the ball out. And Stafford can sling it, and maybe he has one of his good Stafford games. And here we are, we're in a shootout. I I do see Brady putting up a lot of points on this defense, though. I really do. Their offensive line just looks really good, and they were going against Grady Jarrett this week, who is not Aaron Donald, right? But he's a good nose tackle. He's a really good pass rushing nose tackle, and they handled him really really well. And so I'm curious if Brady gets time at all, he's just going to pick this defense apart. Like I do not see these linebackers surviving a battle with Tom Brady. After I saw what he's done the first 2 weeks, he's been just out there putting him in the torture chamber. Troy
Yeah.
Reader, I have him in an IDP, and I'm glad because he's going to get a lot of tackles because a lot of his receivers are going to get catches this game because it's just you can't outsmart Brady in that pass game if you're a linebacker. He just tortures them.
So I did want to push back a little bit. I did see that Brady has been knocked down quite a bit, even that last game. So I think that could be the key. Obviously that defensive front with the Rams. If they're really getting the pressure to him, they may not actually get to him and sack him, but if they
Mm-hmm.
can, just at least pressure him enough to miss a receiver or not have enough time to hit those receivers, especially now that we know that Antonio Brown, I believe, will be out because of
Oh,
COVID.
he's out this week. Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
that's good. That's
So,
good. Yeah,
so that's one weapon. One, I don't know. Sometimes he's a decoy.
yeah.
Obviously, you still have Evans.
Evans, Godwin, Gronk.
Right. So they've got plenty of weapons.
Yeah,
Um, but as we know, Tom Brady is, he's very he's focused on doing the same thing over and over again, and
yeah,
not having Brown could really. I hesitate to say throw him off, right? Because he's obviously he's the GOAT,
yeah, 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 yeah.
but it could throw the others off. So, you know, everything that you've said, it does kind of want I do want to lean toward the Bucs. I think they're obviously I think going to be the favorite, um, but I just think
Yeah, it's a point and a half. Yeah, they're very close. Yeah,
I just think McVay has kind of been obviously pointing toward this season, with Stafford, and I just think the momentum that they're going to have, I don't know, I just inherently trust Sean McVay. I guess if you have ever seen him like talk, I
man.
mean, he just like
Yeah, yeah, you should, yeah, you should trust Sean McVay to an extent, and this is it, right? This is it. This is why. This is the moment that the Rams created for themselves to prove themselves. All right, so it's like here we go, all in. We're here, like cleaned up the easy teams. Like sure, it was a little closer than we like on the Rams, but hey, that's a W, right? And we're heading in. This is a winnable game for them. They have the personnel to win this. They have the star power to win this. Aaron Donald can take over a game, right? Ramsey can take over a game. Matthew Stafford can take over a game. You don't always want him to, but he can, right? So like there is, and Cooper Cup. Cooper Cup can turn any play into a touchdown easily. The run after the catch is amazing, and he gets open, and he's big, and he has good hands. Like it's possible. It's definitely possible. It's like a 48-52 kind of feeling.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Like, initially when you kind of think about it, I was thinking, maybe it's a defensive struggle or whatever, but just the way Tom Brady's going, and it's just obviously these are good defenses, right? But I think they're gonna go toe to toe, and I'm gonna take the Rams here. I'm gonna say it's gonna be a 38-31 Rams win. I
That'll be
think
so much fun.
obviously, Godwin's gonna have a big game in my opinion, from the Bucs. And I'm thinking Woods is going to have the big game for the Rams. So that's kind of where I'm at, where I'm leaning, and maybe the whole Woods thing is just because I have shares in him. But
Oh sure, yeah, you gotta sprinkle a little fairy dust on it for sure. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I don't hate it. I think both teams probably do make it into the 30s, like or the high 20s. I could easily see a 31-28. I could see the Rams leading this game. The narrative of this game that I see it breaking out before me is even, and then Rams break ahead, and then the Bucs win it with the last second field goal on the comeback. That's just the way it feels.
it does.
And
Well, I say sorry. It's so interesting. Just the narrative that obviously you talk about Tom Brady as the GOAT. And I remember watching Jordan. You just when he had the ball in his hands, even before the game started, like everyone just kind of knew they were going to win, or they were going to at least be there. Like I remember watching some of those close Utah games, and they're so close, but then now, kind of in hindsight, you just knew Jordan was going to do something to win.
it's inevitable. It's inevitable. There's an inevitability to it. If you in the phrase, if you give Brady back the ball, he's gonna win, and it just keeps happening, and everyone laughs, but they keep giving him back the ball, And yeah, there's an inevitability to the truly great players. Of in the sports universe that sets them apart, and there's only a handful of them, really. You know what I mean? Like you can be incredible and not inevitable. Tom Brady is inevitable. If
Yeah.
if you allow him to win a game, you can stop him, but he's not gonna lose it himself. It's incredible. Yeah.
So yeah, that it's gonna be a great matchup. Obviously, everyone's kind of pointing to that one. So obviously, kind of moving on to another game this week. Really, Want to talk about a little bit about your Vikings, right?
Oh yeah, Vikings-Seahawks. Homer upset pick of the week coming in. Yeah.
Oh,
Must win for the Vikings, for sure. If last week wasn't, the only reason we're calling this one a must win is because we lost week, which was also a must win. So
right.
until you're eliminated, that's what you say. And then have just been tortured by the Seahawks. The last time Justin Jefferson was in fourth grade, the last time that the
Wow.
Vikings beat the Seahawks, right? And the last time, by the way, the last time they were in Minnesota was like 4 or 5 years ago. Eric Kendricks was a rookie. Yeah. Anyway,
Wow. Wow.
no. Yeah. So we for years now the Vikings have been traveling to Seattle and ritualistically losing, and people think it's kind of like a joke, like they own us. But if you watch those games, there's some tomfoolery in those games. Mike Zimmer has been coaching well against Russell Wilson for about 5 years. He has been putting together good game plans and shutting him down. And yeah, Russ pulls some crazy stuff in the end, and Vikings do the Vikings thing, right? Where
Right. Right.
4th and 1 can't make it, 27-yard field goal in the playoffs, miss it. You know what I mean? Like this, you can't count that, right? That's just like what we do. That's what the Vikings do.
Right.
So I do think that this is going to be a close W, and it's going to be a career saving win for Zimmer here, or a career prolonging, right?
Right.
Win for Zimmer here. It's going to buy him some time. The bank has not had a home game in a long time, right? And that's the 70,000 feet. Like now we get the crowd noise. We've been playing in the Vikings have been playing in Seattle for years now. We've been traveling there every year. It's like a joke. It's a meme. And we're competing. The Vikings are competing against the crowd noise. So, I mean, flipping that back around, and it's looking really. I think we can pull it off.
Yeah. So the Vikings are home then.
Yeah. Home against Russell Wilson, who's gonna wreak havoc on this secondary for sure. That's been struggling.
And
But it's just gonna be a high scoring game.
and I have to tell you, obviously from I actually went to the Final Four when it was there, and
Mm,
so yeah, it really gets rocking. I mean, it sounded just amazing in there, and obviously there was no um, home team necessarily, but I remember that championship game, Virginia, and they had it was just a you could tell an overwhelming presence more than Texas Tech, and it made a difference. So I can't imagine like even with the Vikings and
yeah.
in that crazy horn. I'm not a fan of that. So
Yeah, the horn's weird, and the skull chant we kind of stole recently, but it's still cool. Like, don't worry
it's
about
for
it.
Vikings fans. I get it. I
Yeah,
get it.
yeah. No, it's a thing. We pretended like we've been doing it forever. We do it for like 6 years. Yeah, no, and on like a football side of it, I really think it's a fun matchup, right? These are two excellent passing attacks that are just gonna. I think they're gonna tear each other to shreds. Neither team has an excellent pass rush. Both teams can stop the run, although I do like Dalvin Cook against this defense. But I feel like it's just gonna. I feel like it's gonna be another shootout, right? Similar to one we saw last week, and kind of like we saw in the second half of the. Actually, no, that's not true. I'm not gonna throw that in there, but more like we saw last week, right? With just kind of like a high flying, probably 30 points on both sides, and I see the Vikings coming out by an edge, maybe 2-3 points. Call it 35-31, something like that.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. You week in and week out, we see Seattle in these barn burners. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
and I don't know. I mean, I have to look at it, but they've had a lot of those over the last few years, and
yeah,
you look at the teams that can really compete with them. They have to have solid wide receivers, and obviously we've seen, the Vikings, they've got, two solid wide receivers, right, in
yeah.
Thielen and Jefferson, and
Three now.
now it looks like even
Yeah.
we got another one in
Yeah,
KJ
it
Osborne.
looks like you're right. That thank you for bringing me back down. We don't know yet, but it does look good.
And so and that's you see obviously more of these the successful teams having multiple wide receivers that are really going to spread the field and just really dominate, and that's in this league. I think that's obviously what you need, and but it comes down to, I mean, you can have all the talent in the world, and comes down to the quarterback, right? So like Cousins, he's actually, you look at the numbers, he's been doing pretty good, hasn't he?
Excuse me.
Is
Yeah,
that right?
really good. Better as good as he plays, right? And that's why I kind of you never see Cousins play better than he's playing right now, right? He's like sure first half of the first game was pretty bad, right? And even though people use the penalties as an excuse, he also missed open throws on big downs, right? So, but going since that first half, it has been as good as Cousins plays. He plays this good sometimes. We've seen him play this good. He'll play this good again. The question is, can he continue and can he build off early season success? So Kirktober came early this season, but let's see if we can like ride that for a little while, maybe build some success later in the year. Probably not. You start 0-2, not looking good. The defense not looking good, which means Zimmer's job prospects not looking good. But this game, this feels like a steal. This feels like a steal for the Vikings at home. Start everyone. Start every single player.
Every single player.
Yeah. If the question is should yes start them all. Carson start him. I don't know every player. There's Osborne. If you could find someone better than Osborne, but if they're but I probably would play him, right?
Yeah,
As a flex or a third wide receiver, I'd play him. So that's 5 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 2 quarterbacks in this game. Yeah, you can do it.
so it's interesting, you bring up Zimmer quite a bit, and obviously he's supposed to be the defensive mastermind, right? Or,
Well, yeah.
and I don't know if you saw the interview on your old friend Kyle Rudolph, who had made a
Oh, yeah.
comment about now finally being with a coach who was offensive minded. That just came
Yeah.
out this week, and so that was kind of a not so subtle dig, right? At Zimmer.
Yeah, a little bit, and he also he had some subtle jabs on the way out for sure. Like he wrote like a $5,000 word like magnum opus, and like left out Kirk Cousins, but like mentioned the equipment managers, like and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah,
And yeah, that's funny because that's great. Yeah, I mean, what is Joe Judge great dragged that team to 6 wins over the last 2 years? Like, yeah, really real NFL coach there. Has Zimmer ever had a 6-win season even? Like,
right.
yeah. I mean, when they win a game this year, they can talk about coaching. Though I am Zimmer at his seat is getting warm, and he might end up being the first one to go before Cousins, which I would never have expected, and maybe even before Spielman as well. But if this defense doesn't turn it around, and I get it, there's a lot of new pieces, right? Most of the secondary is new, right? So it takes a while to do this weird like man zone quarters, like zone blitz, a double A gap defense that like takes forever to learn, but they better learn it. They don't got time. This isn't baseball. You don't get to like swing out the kinks in April and then like you know what I mean?
Oh
No,
yeah,
you're 0-2 and you're probably over. The season's probably over. So
yeah,
you have negative time to get it together. So you don't get to wait until October and make this run and then this is going to be a classic Viking seasons. They're going to win 9 wins. They're going to be at the bottom of in the hunt graphic at some point because they're going to make this charge, right? But it's all futile and for nothing. And if they make the playoffs, they'll lose in the first round. But I feel a classic Viking season starting with this win because we have the lows. We got to have little highs too. You can't get the hopes up. You can't not get the hopes up.
you're right. And they do need this win. So yep.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and it's gonna be fun. And yeah, start everyone. Let's do another homer. Let's talk about your Bears. Or what do you
Yeah.
think of the score? What do you think the score is gonna be? No, I don't think you think the Vikings are gonna win. What do you think the score is gonna be? Or
You
who do you
know,
think wins?
and this is weird. As a Bears fan, I actually, I like Kirk Cousins. I honestly, I do. And
Yeah, he's fine.
I would like to see them win, but I just don't. I don't see it. I
Yeah,
just,
yeah,
with and I know I have talked about how I don't trust Pete Carroll in the past, but I just, you know, I really think the way Russell Wilson is playing, and DK Metcalf hasn't even, we haven't seen the best of him either.
No, no, he's been really tanking my dynasty team, but that's okay because he'll. I'm not worried about him.
Right. So I see it being close as well, but I see the Seahawks winning this one.
Yeah, what do you think? Like more than the touchdown, or like what?
Um, I think it's probably going to be like a 4 point,
4 point, yeah, something like that. Sure, no problem. All right, let's talk about the Bears and the Browns because that's another tough matchup.
It is, and it's really interesting because the Bears do get some defensive players back, and it's so interesting, just looking at some of the start sits,
Yeah.
NFL.com, Adam Rank, some of these, people that, he's a Bears fan, right?
Yeah, he does some work that I hate.
I was going to say that. I was going to bring that up because,
Yeah.
he's got Justin Fields in the must start number five place, for this week and
No.
as a quarterback. And I just,
No.
I bring that up just, I don't see it. And here's the thing, like as the, Bears are, I mean, this, everyone in Chicago, I think, is excited,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm excited, not necessarily for a win or even playoffs. If we make the playoffs, great, but this year, like I've talked before, is more about development, and I just I want to see him get an opportunity and get experience. And I don't see here in his first game against a very capable defense. Um, really having a huge game. Maybe not even
No,
a
I
huge game.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And he could have a good. He might like squeeze maybe a couple rushing touchdowns or something like that. I would not start him though. Absolutely not.
Right, absolutely, and
Yeah,
that's
I
kind of
picked
what
him up though. I did pick him up though. Off free agency for sure. It was easy. Yeah, but I did not. I'm not starting him.
he's got the talent, and obviously he said, from a fantasy perspective, it does kind of change what you think from some of the players. Obviously, the running back standpoint, right now you still do start Montgomery, but like you said, he could vulture a rushing touchdown from Montgomery.
That's true. Yeah.
So that they talked about like some of the rushes, some of the rushing touchdowns, that being a factor with him. Um, he also does have more of a rapport with Darnell Mooney, so obviously, that could help. That could be
I like to
positive.
hear that. I have a lot of Darnell Mooney shares. I do like to hear that for sure, and that's a talented receiver as well.
But it really remains to be seen with the offense. I think as I've said before, none of the receivers are averaging more than 10 yards a catch. And they're just not getting the ball down the field, right?
I think that'll change, but it might get him killed. Right. So he's going to hold on to the ball for longer. We're fairly certain of that. He's not going to get it out the fastest in the league, and he's probably going to be close to the bottom for time to throw, I would guess.
Right.
But if he can survive, and this is a tough matchup again, you got Grady Jarrett coming at you, and that's a line so good that they let Sheldon Richardson walk. They're they're coming for you. So if he can keep the play alive, I would love to see some magic. I would love to see some magic. That would be fun.
Yeah. So me too. I'd like to see him have some positive plays and some great touchdowns. And I'm not expecting a lot. It's a wait and see approach. And the other side of the ball with the Browns, obviously the Bears have done well against the run, right?
That's a good point.
So you do have obviously with Kareem Hunt and Chubb.
And Chubb out? I believe Chubb's out for this game. Is that what it is?
I hadn't seen it. I know he was hurt, so I hadn't seen that
Yeah.
yet.
Well, I'll look it up. You keep going. Yeah, keep going. I'll pull it
So
up real
yeah,
quick.
I mean, in that could be a factor. Obviously, Hunt is a little bit more of a scat back, I believe. And so that could even be a better matchup for the Browns. Um, in the game as well. But and I do hear I think Odell is going to play. Beckham's going to play. They're going to need him uh, with the deep ball. So I don't
Oh
know.
no, he's fine. Yeah,
Chubb's
I
fine.
think he lost the tag even. I must have misheard. Yeah, they're definitely gonna need Odell to step up because I believe they lost. Maybe it was Landry who got hurt, and that's what
Landry.
I. Yeah, and I heard the word Chubb as well. Yeah, so you are gonna need Odell to step up. We haven't seen him do anything for just a long, long time. Um, I think they'll be able to run the ball. Oh, the Browns, that is, will be able to run the ball a little, right? And if you can run the ball a little, and Baker has I mean, they have a good enough offensive line, I think, to keep him clean, especially with the way Mac has been rushing the passer lately. Still gets
Right.
pressures, not getting home that often. Not as game wreckery as I've seen in the past, anyway.
Right.
Just for the first two games, though, I've heard like rumor that he's cooked. I don't know if I believe that. I'd have to see a lot of bad to undo the good I've seen, to unsee what I've seen him do to Kirk Cousins. But yeah, if Baker can get a little time back there and you can run the ball a little bit, I think you're going to put enough points on the board. They don't need to score that many points to beat the Bears. I don't think the Browns need to score that many points to beat the Bears in this game.
Yeah, and so obviously, it's a different game plan, and now with Justin Fields for the whole week, and it's a different offense than it would have been, and so we're going to see some different things. But yeah, I just don't see, and this is honestly, I don't think it's on Fields as much as it's on Nagy. I just don't trust him as an offensive play caller. And obviously, I say this as an armchair quarterback, right? But
Yeah.
you know, the numbers, they don't lie, right? They just have not been able to score.
Yeah, no, yeah. His reputation is as a poor offensive play caller in the NFL landscape. I'm sure other GMs or other coaches wouldn't say that, but no one, even casual fans, probably have heard rumor that people think that Matt Nagy is a poor, and he has a chance to prove him wrong, right? He has the excuse that maybe saved his life, that he never wanted Trubisky, or saved his career, that he never wanted Trubisky, and so he has. I don't believe they drafted Fields without Nagy wanting Fields. So
Oh,
he has. I think he has the opportunity now, and he held that card for as long as he could. He's got to play his Justin Field card, and it's got to look good for him to save his job, because that is it. His career is riding on whether this quarterback looks good, in my opinion, or not.
I would agree. Yeah. So I'd say my coach also is on the hot seat. Obviously, maybe even more so. It's interesting. I think Zimmer has been known in the league for quite a while. I think it might be time for a change for him as well. He would find another job.
Yeah.
Nagy, he'll
Oh
find
yeah.
another job as an offensive coordinator or something. If which is kind of ironic, I guess. But
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you're just a coordinator. Sometimes you're a coordinator, and it's not necessarily a definite thing that makes you a good head coach. It's not a statistic. It's not a scheme, right? It's so many things that just because you can scheme and call plays in the NFL, which is absurdly difficult, but it's a subset. It's a skill subset, right? So sometimes you're just a coordinator. I think Matt Nagy might be. And is he even a good coordinator? We'll find out. Zimmer would be. We know he's a good defensive coordinator, but I think he'd be great. It'd be nice if he went back to that, because that's kind of all he cares about, right? If it weren't for the ego, I think if he was honest with himself, Mike Zimmer would be a defensive coordinator, and it would be better for everyone involved if he just ran the defense and ignored everything else like he does anyway. Right?
right,
He
right.
watched film with Kirk Cousins for the first time this year.
Is that real? Is it
Yeah, the
really?
first time he watched films with Kirk Cousins. Kirk had to ask him. Kirk had to ask him. He
Wow.
said, "Zim, come watch film with me and break down this defense, which should be happening every week." Meanwhile, yeah, no. Meanwhile,
Wow.
coaches around the NFL are building these relationships with their quarterbacks and asking them to go for it on fourth down, which was, obviously theater, but still good theater.
With Harbaugh, right?
Yeah, Harbaugh. I think they
Yeah.
were always knew they were going to. He just wanted to look cool. Is my opinion. Is my
Oh,
opinion on that.
okay.
Like they were going for it. Like no matter. Like Lamar wasn't gonna say no, so he asked the question to look cool.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
hey, we riding? Like yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. That's what it felt like to me anyway. But no, I want that. I want my coach to even pretend to like like the quarterback outside of
Right.
Teddy Bridgewater, his only true
Well,
love. We can't
yeah.
get buried. We can't get buried in the minutia of the Vikings problems, though.
Right. Well, so I'd like to say that I'm riding with the Bears to win this week.
Hmm.
But if they do, it's definitely going to be the defense, in
Yeah.
forcing Baker to, into an interception or a couple throws. Um, yeah, I still think the Browns are going to take this game. I think it's going to be probably about a 24 to 24 to 14. We'll say about that 24-14
Yeah.
because you know I really like Fields, but as he's really just kind of getting his feet wet, and if I see obviously I'll be happy. You know what? As a Bears fan, I'm happy that he's starting. It's kind of
Yeah,
the bar's low, right?
you
You
get
know,
to find out. You get to find out, and it's fun to find out what's in the mystery box for sure. And I like that score a little bit. I was going to even say like maybe 24-17 or something like that. I see the Bears scoring in the teens, and I see the Browns scoring in the 20s most likely. If the Bears do the magic, it's going to be like a 17-13. If the Bears pull the upset, I feel like it's going to be a low scoring, unless Justin Fields is just something that we didn't see coming and he's a revelation and he was ready from day one, which I don't know, it's happened, but yeah, I like that score line. I like that score line. Who are you starting Mooney this week then?
I am not. I am
He's
not.
injured a little bit. He's banged up a little bit, I remember.
He's banged up. I definitely I pick him up. I have him stashed in a couple leagues. He's definitely one that you're going to want to look for. But you know, the hope is if you've drafted well, he's not one of the one of the wide receivers you have to bank on. It's always good to have those young wide receivers. Just to wait and see. And then like I really you know enjoyed or was looking for Devontae Smith, and thankfully he's kind of been the one that's hit. And I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to him on Monday night
Oh yeah,
against the
that's gonna be.
Cowboys. There's so
Yep.
many really good matchups.
Yep.
Obviously this week as well. And
Yeah.
I was gonna point out actually. I'm wearing my Johnny Cash Man in Black T-shirt right now.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
And the reason is, I think we talked about it in group chat. Is
Oh.
obviously the Raider Nation #Raider Nation on Twitter just kind of like exploded the last couple of days, and it's just obviously it's good when these flagship franchises, these really marquee franchises like obviously the Packers or we'll call the Vikings one of those. All right,
No, they're not iconic. It's
not
okay.
okay.
They're not. They're not. They have some good players and they have legendary players, but the team
Right.
itself is not iconic. No,
But
it's not.
like
Yeah.
the Cowboys or
Yeah.
the Bears, or
Yeah. Yeah.
especially
The
the Raiders.
originals.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and now the Raiders are 2-0. They're really looking to go to 3-0, and they probably will now that Tua's out. And
Yeah, it's a
um,
winnable game. I
so
traded for Tua too. That was a rough one, but I think the guy panic traded Tua when he got injured. I got what did I give? I gave up Marvin Jones. I gave up two. I gave up Marvin Jones and Nelson Aguilar in a dynasty
oh
league for Tua. So that's like those are two wide receivers you could start every week. But they're two wide receivers that are not going to be good in this league for very much longer, I don't think. But so that was what I was. But I'm going to lose
yeah,
games because of that one this year for sure.
yeah, and so I don't know. As an NFL fan, obviously I want to see the Bears do well. I want to see these young quarterbacks do well. But you root for Tua, and it's tough when he gets
Oh
hurt
yeah,
or some of these players get hurt because you know I you just you for me I want to see players do well.
yeah.
Unless it's the Packers, then you know.
Then we
Um,
wish them ill. Except for I don't mind Aaron Rodgers either. Honestly, I think we talked about this last week. I don't even mind him. He's fine.
well, it's so funny. On Twitter, there's a lot of Packer fans now that are just upset with him and everything. But here's the thing, they're gonna miss him when he's gone. You know, um, they
I mean, the string's got to come to an end. You know as well as I do, the string does have to come to an end. If Jordan Love is another franchise quarterback, I might have to stop watching football. Like, I might. So, yeah. You said you were wearing the Johnny Cash shirt in honor of the
yeah,
Raiders.
yeah.
I'm wearing the Timberwolves jersey. And in fact, this is a signed Andrew Wiggins jersey.
Oh,
But,
we were probably not going to talk about the Andrew Wiggins news.
no, we're not. But I just wore that in honor of the most dysfunctional franchise in the history of sports that truly, truly has no basement to the level of incompetence.
Yeah, yeah, that's
It only gets bad. Crap only gets piled on. Fired the GM because he created a toxic work environment and was screwing one of his employees. But anyway, so that's yeah, that all came out.
wow, wow. Well, obviously, our basketball Twitter followers would be excited to hear about the at least we're talking a little bit of basketball, but
Yeah.
not in the right way, I guess.
No, 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 no. That was just an aside.
So it's just interesting as far as the games we've talked about so far. Obviously with Seattle and Minnesota and the Tampa Bay and the Rams, those are definitely going to be fast paced, almost like high scoring matches or games, and I think it'll be interesting to see. Obviously what Tom Brady, what was he? He's on pace for like 76 touchdowns. Like all these
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
crazy stuff. Are they going to keep
Oh,
continuing, or
yeah, yeah.
is things kind of get in the middle of the season, or you know things going to slow down offensively, or how do you feel about that?
Well, I did notice, like, I did get my hands on a little game tape from that game, and I did notice that he was kind of underthrowing a couple of balls. There were a couple that fell short, and they weren't necessarily like he wanted them to go a little short. I think it's kind of like a in breaking route, or there's like a DB right there, so like the he wanted to have the receiver to make a play on the ball, but he was kind of skipping him a little bit there. So I'm like, ooh, is that arm gonna hold up? Because he's just slinging it, and he's slinging it with zip, and I'm like, is that diet? You're wondering one day that arm is gonna stop throwing, and every time he kind of floats one over, you wonder, but no one should realistically call it until they see it happen, because the fall off from Brady has never come, and he has plateaued as the greatest quarterback of all time and just chilled there for 20 years. So we until it does happen, I am going to expect that it will not happen, right? Until he gets bad, until his arm falls off, I'm going to expect just excellent results from him. I'm going to expect playoffs. I'm going to expect or NFC championship games now.
No,
Rip
yeah.
me. Yeah. Rip us anyway. Yeah. I'm gonna expect he's gonna win for as long as it takes, and they have the coach, they have the roster, they have the defense, they have the receivers, they have the depth, right? Like it's, I don't know if they're gonna win the Super Bowl again, but I don't see anything stopping this from being another deep run in the playoffs team.
It'll be interesting, to see. Obviously, if it ends up being, the Bucks Chiefs again. It's so weird because on the other side, yeah, the Chiefs, they're the Chiefs. Like they've got Mahomes, everyone kind of assumes they're gonna win, but with them losing to the Ravens, that's gonna open things up. So really, it's
Yeah.
been so weird. I felt like in the past, it's kind of been the NFC that's been more wide open, and now it's almost the AFC.
Yeah, interesting, especially in the division that no one. I mean, people expected the AFC West to be good, but they didn't. I don't know if they expected it to be that competitive at the top. Can't throw away too many games, especially with there only being one first round bye for both divisions. You can't go throwing away games because you're going to need 13, 14 wins to get that bye, and that bye is essential to playoff success. Essential. We've seen what those wild card games do to good teams. So yeah, there's a chance, right? They're all human, right? Any one of these players can lose a game. Any one of these teams can lose. So there's definitely a chance, and we saw that. We saw that. You can't bet against them though, but there's
Right?
a chance.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, obviously, this will be a great matchup to see really how close are the Rams to the Bucks. And as we said before, I picked them. You know, this will really be a barometer, an early season barometer. Obviously, there's so much season left,
Yeah.
and on that side, and but as the Ravens and the Chiefs was kind of a barometer to say, okay, well, the Ravens maybe are up there, obviously only
Yeah.
because of you know their quarterback, right? I mean,
Right, pretty much. I mean, it's not they're a good team without the quarterback, but they're not a great team without him. So yeah, yeah, that's gonna be interesting. You love the AFC right now. There's so many good young quarterbacks in the AFC. It's gonna be so much fun to watch. NFC, and now I guess we're gonna get a barometer of the NFC tonight too, or this weekend as well, with a couple of Super Bowl contenders clashing off. So yeah, looking forward to it. It's gonna be just a great weekend of football. Cannot wait. It's been so good so far. Even losing two games, and I'm still happy as hell. It's just been there. Like the football has been great. Like there's just fantasy has been great. Like I'm looking forward to this weekend, and thanks y'all for listening.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, another week down, and we'll see him on. We're gonna do Tuesday again, right?
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see you on Tuesday. We'll see you on Tuesday for sure. All right. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody.